Okay, folks, I want to call the special Hopkinton Town Council meeting of January 28th, 2019 to order with a moment of silent meditation and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, number one, zoning ordinance amendment and comprehensive plan future land use map amendment. Render a decision on an amendment to the Hopkinton zoning ordinance and the Hopkinton comprehensive plan future land use map filed by Southern Sky Renewable Energy, LLC, 117 Metro Center Boulevard, number 2007, Warwick, Rhode Island, 02886. For property owned by LR6A, owner LLC, and Realty Financial Partners, Limited Partnership, 56 Kearney Road, Suite D, Needham, Mass. 02494. For property located at 130 Dye Hill Road, Hope Valley, Rhode Island, identified as Assessor's Plat 32, lots 1 through 71, an RFR 80 zone, as a result of hearings held on October 1st, October 29th, November 13th, and December 3rd. The applicant's present, I see, okay. Next is council deliberations. As everyone knows or doesn't know, there's no public comment in this decision phase of the process. The council will render their decisions and deliberations and ultimately make a decision whether to grant the approval or not. So, without further ado, I appreciate everyone showing up tonight. I'll hand over the mic to Councilor Capalbo.
Good evening. I wish to make a motion to render a positive decision on an amendment to the Hopkinton zoning ordinance and the Hopkinton comprehensive plan future land use map filed by Southern Sky Renewable Energy RI, LLC, 117 Metro Center Boulevard, number 2007, Warwick, Rhode Island, 02886, for property owned by LR6A, owner LLC, and Realty Financial Partners, VI, LP, 56 Kearney Road, Suite D, Needham, Mass. 02494, for property located at 130 Dye Hill Road, Hope Valley, Rhode Island, identified as Plat 32, lots 1, 2, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, 27, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 41, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 63, 65, 67, 68, 69, 70, and 71, an RFR 80 zone as a result of hearings held on October 1st, October 29th, November 13th, and December 3rd, 2018, to rezone these parcels as commercial special to allow a business that is exclusively a photovoltaic solar energy system project. This positive decision would be supported by the following findings of fact. Based upon the evidence and expert testimony of record submitted at the public hearings, the proposed zoning ordinance amendment and the proposed comprehensive plan future land use map amendment to map 23 are both consistent with the authority reserved to the council under the comprehensive plan to identify those areas in town where such uses are appropriate and to identify the conditions under which such uses may exist. That the changes will provide the benefits to the town in terms of enhanced tax revenue to be received from the property as a result of the development of the solar array, that the changes will promote important local, state, and national objectives seeking alternative energy sources that are safe for the environment and the citizens of Hopkinton, that the proposed changes will not adversely affect the health, safety, or welfare of the town and are in the best interests of the community, that the proposed changes are suitable to the character of the location in question and constitute a non-noxious use. And that the proposed use is in conformance with the provisions of the comprehensive plan, such as the land use goal number 1, LU1, policy Con 1 and Con 2, to protect the quality of life and to restrict intensive or polluting development in groundwater protection zones. Brushy Brook will have no septic systems, runoff from residential fertilizer use, or salt and sand from new roads. Land use goal number 4, LU4, public services and facilities goal PSF5, and natural resources objective NR1, NR2, NR5, and NR8. We need to preserve and protect groundwater resources, working farms, and wildlife habitat. We continue to find ways to support a vibrant and effective land trust, preserving forest, watersheds, and habitats. They have strong working relationships with DEM, Audubon, Nature Conservancy, and others. We also need more meadows, cornfields, and pastures. Policy NR2 encourages the purchase of development rights for selected parcels. Policy NR8 asks to find ways of alternative methods of purchasing properties for conservation. We need to work with our farmers and other landowners who want to have solar arrays on their properties to preserve their farmlands and wildlife habitats for the future. Policy Natural Resources NR5 promotes energy self-sufficiency using renewable energy, which goes hand in hand with public policy, public services and facilities PSF 17, including recommendations 18 and 19, which encourages expanding zoning regulations to allow photovoltaic and wind installations in residential districts. Public Services Facilities Policy PSF 15 also endorses future land development that is sustainable and energy efficient. This project also follows the recommendations of the State Guide Plan Energy 2035 and the entire energy section of the comprehensive plan. Rhode Island Solid Waste and Transportation 2035, Statewide Planning 2025, Rhode Island Water 2030, and Rhode Island Rising Report 18. It also addresses Rhode Island General Law 45-22.2, Rhode Island Comprehensive Planning and Land Use Regulation Act, General Law 45-23, Rhode Island Land Development and Subdivision Review Enabling Act, General Law 45-24, Rhode Island Zoning Enabling Act, and General Law 4211-10 F.7, Rhode Island Comprehensive Energy Conservation, Efficiency, and Affordability Act. With these conditions, as conditions for the approval of the proposed changes, the petitioners and/or their successors in interest must adhere to the following. 1. The zoning district classification is changed from residential RFR 80 to commercial special, with the restrictions that the property's use hereafter is limited to use code 486 photovoltaic solar energy systems, along with the restrictions further placed upon the use stated in Chapter 134, Section 5.3, with the further conditions that A, the zoning designations for the property should revert back to RFR 80 zone, subject to the Town Council holding a further public hearing consistent with RIGL Section 45-24-53 once the proposed use and/or actual use of the properties as an operating photovoltaic energy system is abandoned or terminated. And B, that the applicant's representations that the use of the site as a photovoltaic solar energy system has received the final approval for the feasibility of the interconnection of the solar array facility by National Grid is accurate, and that at this time the applicant has received an assurance that such an interconnection approval will be given by National Grid at the appropriate time, which is at the completion of the construction of the project. Number 2, all of the conditions in the requests numbered 1 through 10 and the 11th additional request contained at page 5 of the letter dated January 24, 2019, that I wrote to Southern Sky Renewable Energy RI LLC, as I will require it to be agreed to and signed on behalf of the petitioners tonight with conditions which are as follows. It's longer than yours, Joe. These are the final requests from Southern Sky Renewable Energy LLC, including its successors and assigns, for the Brushy Brook Solar 57.9 megawatt DC proposal before the Hopkinton Town Council, Hopkinton, Rhode Island. Dear sirs and madams, thank you for your thoughtful review of my requests over the last several months of discussions. The addition of a large renewable energy facility in the town of Hopkinton is problematic on a number of levels if the development is merely a taking of our rural property for use and profit with no concern for the greater good of the community to which you have become a part. A solar facility creates power that is dispersed, generally, outside of our town borders, and although you pay taxes for this development, so does every other taxpayer pay for their development or property as well. Citizens within our boundaries also create jobs, both permanent and part-time, for numerous persons and businesses. They buy products and services, volunteer their time and monies for the good of churches, schools, libraries, nonprofits, senior centers, recreational facilities, all valuable to the community and in the neighborhoods to create a comprehensive and vibrant entity. If we are to change our comprehensive plan map and rezone for your benefit, I wish you and your successors to become the same. These are the clarifications and final requests to a mutually beneficial compromise that are subject to Southern Sky receiving all final, or in some instances foundational, approvals required to develop and operate the Brushy Brook proposed solar facility. Request number 1. Based on Hopkinton's municipal electric bill, Southern Sky will enter into a net metering credit arrangement at a 100% discount rate pursuant to RIGL Chapter 39-26.4, not to exceed 500,000 kilowatt hours per year. The credit arrangement having a 25-year term with 2 5-year extensions with commercially reasonable and customary industry terms. That takes care of all of our electric bill for the town of Hopkinton. Request number 2, concerning the salvage, demolition, cleanup, and disposal of the 1904 Ashaway Elementary School building in cooperation and collaboration with the regional stakeholders, being the Cheraho Regional School District, the Town of Hopkinton's 1904 Building Removal and Reclamation Committee, and Hopkinton Department of Public Works. Southern Sky will commit the minimum of $130,000 escrowed with the Hopkinton Finance Department in advance of any clear cutting or grading of the Brushy Brook solar site, and if the costs are less, the excess will be refunded to the project developer. However, if the costs are greater, Southern Sky or its successors in interest shall pay these costs not to exceed $150,000. Request number 3. The applicant agrees to commit, in advance of any construction of the Brushy Brook property, $250,000 into Hopkinton's capital improvement plan to assist with the funding of the town hall expansion project, to be used as the town determines in its discretion, and to be used within 5 years for the renovation and reconstruction of the Hopkinton Town Hall. Request number 4. Southern Sky agrees to fund a cash escrow account at the Hopkinton Finance Department for the project's decommissioning costs in an amount to be determined by the Hopkinton Planning Board in conjunction with both a professional engineer selected and retained by Southern Sky and by the Hopkinton Planning Board, who also may elect to engage its own engineers to advise on the same. Upon commencement of the project's commercial operation and each anniversary thereafter during the project's lifetime, Southern Sky and its successors and assigns agree to contribute to the town on an annual basis $1,500 for the financial record keeping and bank reconciling work necessary for this project. Request number 5. Southern Sky agrees that any future increase in the project's total capacity in excess of 57.9 megawatts DC shall be subject to the Hopkinton Planning Board's development plan review. If said increase in capacity would result in or from an increase in the project's physical footprint, Southern Sky retains the right to replace and/or improve any and all project equipment, including but not limited to solar panels, during the project's lifetime without town approval, so long as the project's footprint does not increase above the current proposed physical acreage usage, i.e. it's approximately 145 acres, as set forth in the revised site plan when approved by the Hopkinton Planning Board. In addition to Rhode Island state taxes set at the time of the amended solar panel efficiency upgrade of 5,000 megawatts a year or more, the applicant and his successors and assigns agree to pay to the town of Hopkinton a bonus of an additional 2,500 megawatts per year per rated capacity above the 57.9 megawatt DC. Any and all said fee bonus amounts shall belong to the town. At the future renewal of the municipality's credit arrangement with Southern Sky, its successors and assigns, other codicils may be negotiated. Request number 6. Southern Sky, its successors and assigns, agrees to make an annual donation to the Hopkinton Land Trust commencing in May 2019 and ending at the expiration of the project's lifetime in the annual amount of $40,000 per year for purposes of reforestation projects, habitat enhancement, solar or wind siting issues and requirements, creation of trails, trailheads, parking, bridges, GIS and IT mapping or filing, and/or any other amenities for the pleasure and recreation of all citizens on all land trust properties in the town of Hopkinton, provided, however, that in the event of the project's construction has not commenced by April 1st, 2022, these donations shall cease until commencement of the project's construction of the parcel, whereupon they will recommence. Request number 7. Following the project's commercial operation, Southern Sky, its successors or assigns, shall provide the Hopkinton Land Trust with a walking access path for the 58.8 acres, plus or minus, of conservation land subject to the Hopkinton Land Trust agreeing to maintain said access path. This access path will be designed by the developer of record and a member or consultant hired by the Land Trust. It shall be installed by Southern Sky, its successors or assigns, adjacent to or organically designed as appropriate with the requirements of conservation land and forest planning, generally to the exterior west side of the project's fence or boundary. Request number 8. Commencing in May 2019 and ending on the expiration of the project's lifetime, Southern Sky, its successors or assigns, agrees to donate on an annual basis $20,000 to be given to different Hopkinton nonprofits in each calendar year, in the aggregate in Southern Sky's name, to one or more Hopkinton-related 501c3 nonprofits selected by Southern Sky in its sole discretion, provided, however, that in the event the project's construction is not commenced by April 1st, 2022, these donations shall cease until commencement of the project's construction. A list of all Hopkinton nonprofit organizations will be supplied to Southern Sky. Request number 9. The final configuration and all requirements to achieve the 57.9 megawatt DC rated capacity of the Brushy Brook solar array, constructed by Southern Sky or its successors or assigns, will be determined by the Hopkinton Planning Board in conjunction with independent consultants hired by the municipality at the owner's expense during the development plan review process, specifically to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of our citizens and our environment. Any and all material increases in the cost of the design, product specification, clear cutting, construction, landscaping, roads, bridges, infrastructure, containments, fencing, additional town engineers, or other personnel and ancillary matters directly relating to this project, as determined by the Hopkinton Planning Board's decisions, will be borne in full by the developer of record or his successors in interest. Request number 10. Southern Sky, its successors or assigns, will agree to the concession of a setback from Dye Hill Road not less than 677 feet, with the condition that any project DC capacity diminishment as a result of this enhanced setback can be reallocated, if needed, to maintain the 57.9 megawatt DC capacity using other upland area of the project site exclusive of the 58.8 acre conservation easement. That said, Southern Sky agrees to work in good faith with the Planning Board and its consultants to determine if the setbacks can be expanded beyond the 677 feet without unnecessarily diminishing the 57.9 megawatt DC capacity and in a manner that is economically feasible to Southern Sky. These concessions on both parts are acceptable to me, as I do not wish the perfect to be the enemy of the good. I intend to continue to encourage interdependencies, range of effective and efficacious solutions with a diverse and cooperative commonweal. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and mutually beneficial compromises. Although this is not part of the request, but it is to your benefit, I would also like to encourage Southern Sky to invest in the training and equipment needed for local fire suppression and related responses in case of an act of God. In addition to the clarifications and requests enumerated in my January 24, 2019 letter to you, I would like to request and memorialize our discussions concerning your agreement in principle to pay in advance real estate property tax for the tax years ending December 31st, 2019, December 31st, 2020, and December 31st, 2021, at an enhanced value based on agreed upon projections of the value of the real estate if it were already citing a completed and operating PSES system as of the date of each real estate property assessment of value. Not to exceed the amount of $160,000 for the real estate tax assessment for the year ending December 31st, 2019, and not to exceed $320,000 for the tax years ending December 31st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021. The assessment in years 2020 and in 2021 will be subject to the project having started their construction by then. In subsequent tax years, and at an amortized schedule to be determined by agreement, the town will credit back to the taxpayer the excess tax payments made by the taxpayer against subsequent years' real estate tax assessments on the property. Said credits back from the town will continue to be applied to subsequent real estate tax liability by the taxpayer until the sum and the excess payments have been reimbursed. No interest will be paid or owed by the town for the excess real estate property tax advanced during the first 3 years. Thank you, Barbara Capaldo. No, we're now continuing yet again. Sorry guys, this is really long. Number 3. Can you hear? Is it better now? Hello?
Louder.
Louder? To
Louder.
Louder? Okay. To the extent applicable, the applicant shall prepare and submit to the planning board any and all applications and supporting documentation necessary to obtain from said planning board through its normal subdivision approval process any and all subdivision approvals as may be required to create any new parcels of land that are part of the application process. And further, should said applications for subdivision approval be approved, the applicant thereafter shall conform with any and all conditions of said approvals. Number 4, while operating, the noise levels from the inverters within the solar array shall not exceed the World Health Organization's standard of 40 decibels measured at the property's boundary lines. Number 5, during the site preparation and installation stages of the construction of the solar array, such work shall be performed only during Monday through Friday work week and only between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Number 6, during and after construction, no blasting, chemicals, or herbicides are allowed. Any and all topsoil will remain on site, and the town's engineer or consulting engineers shall be allowed to do periodic inspections, and the applicant shall reimburse the town for any associated costs, and that applicants and successors in interest will be required to submit copies of any and all inspection reports to the town manager or his representative every month during the construction project. 7, after completion of the project, the applicants and their successors will allow the town's designated representative to conduct an inspection of the site in April of every year for the life of the project and will reimburse the town for any costs associated with these annual inspections. 8, the applicant shall prepare and submit to the planning board for approval a reasonable plan designed to sustain the native animal species in and around the solar array facility during its construction and its operation until the facility's closure. Number 9, the applicants will apply for and receive all required development approvals from the Hopkinton Planning Board, including but not limited to master plan approval, major plan development approval, and the like, and to provide the Hopkinton Planning Board with all required documentation regarding drainage, stormwater management, wetland protections, etc. That's the end.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Open it up for discussion. Who wants to start after? Sure, Scott.
Just for the record, I second that for strictly for discussion purposes only. I'm against the Bresherbrook proposal, and I think that what we I'm not going to try to ramble on. I made some notes. One of the things that I really detected, and I've been a Hopkinton resident all my life. Only lived in 2 houses in my life, and I'm sitting here. My 5th great-grandfather was the first town clerk of Hopkinton in 1757, and here's a descendant of the founders of Hopkinton actually serving on the town council. But anyways, one of the things I really detected is most people are really against this, strongly. There's some people who are for it, but the people are strongly against this, phenomenally. And I've been in politics quite a few years. And what really concerns me is the fact that most of the people who seem to be in favor, the only reason they support it is they think they're going to get lower taxes. And I don't believe that even if you assume some of the amounts that I've heard, it's really a drop in the bucket when you're dealing with many tens of millions of dollars that this town has to pay, mostly for schools and some for general government. I don't believe that, I don't agree with Barbara's codicils at all. And I think that we have to establish to the public and those people from outside this town that it's not we cannot put a price on coming to Hopkinton. If you're going to go to Hopkinton, you've got to do certain things. That's repugnant, and somebody should use a capital R, repugnant. And the thing about the codicils is it's not even related directly to the property. Taking down the old Ashway School, which I went to, is a sore subject with me anyways. It's an Ashway, it's miles from the Brushy Brook area, shouldn't even be on the agenda. And finishing the town hall, which is in Hopkinton City, many miles. If people want to take down the old Ashway School or finish the town hall, that should be up to the voters. We shouldn't allow people to do certain things that we want in order for us to allow big solar into this town. And the bigger question is, what do we do with other big solar projects? What treats do we have to expect from those developers in order to have them sited in Hopkinton? And I believe in government where everybody can participate. I don't care if you're a ditch digger or you wear a three-piece suit and operate or run a Fortune 500 company, because this is the United States of America, and every person, to somebody that's on the street or in the White House, they're all Americans and they should be treated as such. Also, I believe in the integrity of R80 zoning. The fact of the matter is that rural farming residential is named that for a specific reason. And to put in a large solar delegitimizes the spirit, even if it can be done legally, which I have reservations about. It corrupts the spirit of R80 zone. And I believe in helping the farmer. My mother's people were farmers over in North Stonington. But the thing is, if you have small solar, and we just adopted an ordinance dealing with that, to encourage farmers and other large landowners not to sell their property to development and help them out a little bit, I'm for that. That's called working with people, not rolling over for a big moneyed interest. And you know, being a politician, you hear a lot of bull. There's no bigger bull that was said in these hearings than this fact that the fear of houses. If we would adopt the logic of the fear of houses, we'd say yes to any development project that didn't produce houses. And that's stupid. And the other thing is, these petitions, I'm going to tell you, I was around when they had the big box stores. In fact, I lost re-election in 2004. It was a very controversial issue. And petitions that we've seen, I don't recall any type of petitions that we have seen with hundreds of people. And people actually ridicule that amount. But let me tell you something politically. And I am a political junkie, and I'm a political animal. But if you look at any of the vote totals in the last election, a lot of these votes were within a couple hundred votes for the council candidates. And you know something? There's a lesson to be learned, because in the last election, in 2018, Sharon Davis and I were the top two vote getters. In the previous election, we were three of the odd people out. We lost. So times are changing, and change can change in 2020. And also, I want to talk about the respect that our planning board deserves to have. You know, and the problem is the council has a reputation of ignoring planning board recommendations, even if they're unanimous. And there's still, I believe, two vacancies on the planning board for alternates. We need to value our town staff and our boards and commissions in this town. They're our experts, and they serve without compensation, even though the town council does get a stipend. I would like to take the time to thank Council President Landolfi because he has been fighting the good fight concerning the Charahoe budget, which really drives town taxes in town, and I do thank you. And we got to remember the town council is a legislative body. We are not the zoning board. We're not the planning board. We're the only board, other than the 4 members of the school committee, that are directly elected by the people of Hopkins, and they put us in there, and they can take us out. And I'm also tired of the Rhode Island General Assembly. The Rhode Island General Assembly should be upholding and respecting Article 12, Section 1 of the Rhode Island State Constitution. The General Assembly should promote education. The state constitution says that, and they go out and spend money on 38 studios and blow money and other things when they should step up for the property taxpayers of this state and the children, which is the future of this state. And also, we need to have consistency on solar. Are we going to have consistency on solar? If we grant this thing tonight, are we going to allow all these other big solars come in? And I'll tell you that. And the other thing is, I know I'm sitting here and I'm probably speaking to a justice of the Superior Court or the Rhode Island Supreme Court, because I'm sure the losing side will appeal this case. But I hope that the jurists that look at this, look at my remarks and the comprehensive plan and the logic put forward tonight. I don't know what the future of large solar and the future of the land in the town is as well, because we don't really know. Large solar is really new on the horizon. We don't know where it's going to go. But I don't believe in taking a chance for Hopkins being left holding the bag on big solar. And with that, I hope I was pretty coherent, and I will defer to my council council members, and I will be voting no, proudly voting no.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Sharon, you're up.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of the people of Hopkinton who voted for me last year. I would also like to thank my husband, Luther, who was my campaign manager and who helped me to run a successful campaign. My father was a Baptist minister, and I grew up in an atmosphere of always trying to help others. That is why I ran for office, and I will do my best to be worthy of everyone's trust. I hope the council is now more proactive in seeking out the desires of the residents when making decisions and is more supportive of the recommendations of town agencies and boards. During my recent campaign canvassing of residents, recording of their town council concerns, and conducting follow-up conversations, I learned exactly why the residents chose Hopkinton as their home. They absolutely want to live in a rural residential setting that keeps Hopkinton country, and they support the town's comprehensive plan. For the past 7 months, I have been listening to requests to change the town's comprehensive plan land use map and to change the zoning of certain residential properties to allow commercial solar plant projects to be built. Since much of our town's future is tied up in the decisions we make regarding these projects, I have carefully evaluated the pros and cons of these requests, listening to the residents for and against the projects, and considered the planning board's advisory opinions. As a result, I am asking the town council to consider the following actions. Number 1, create a total solar megawatt goal for the town. To date, we have approved 16 projects totaling 51 megawatts. Since the 8,116 Hopkinton residents use 98 megawatts per day, we have already replaced 51% of our town's usage by renewable energy. By comparison, the governor's total state renewable energy goal is 1,000 megawatts by the year 2020 for the state's 1,060,000 residents. I think Hopkinton has exceeded its fair share of meeting the state's goal. Number 2, investigate implementing a town-owned solar project. It would generate significantly more revenue than $5,000 per megawatt. Number 3, negotiate a net metering agreement with a solar company similar to the one that the Charahoe School District is currently working on to offset the town's energy costs. My decision regarding Brushy Brook has boiled down to the answers to 3 questions. Number 1, is this project consistent with the current comprehensive plan that was finally approved in 2018? The answer is no. Number 2, after reviewing all of the pertinent facts, did the planning board favorably recommend this project? The answer is no. Number 3, was I able to find outside factors such as overwhelming resident support, town-owned land, or this project is adjacent to and or would blend with commercially zoned property if the zoning was changed to commercial solar? The answer is no. Therefore, I'm going to vote to reject this project's comprehensive plan. And I vote to reject the project zoning amendment.
Thank you, Sharon. Councilor Thompson?
There's obviously, and we have, can you hear me okay? I don't think this thing's working. Hello? No.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, guess I'm not talking into it close enough. I can agree with a lot of the things that have been said tonight, yes or no. Whatever side you're on, there's passion on both sides. There are people that desperately don't want it for a variety of reasons, and there are people that desperately do want it for different reasons. In my mind, whatever happens tonight, there are not going to be any winners. The planning board obviously has advised against it, and they cite specific parts of the comprehensive plan to substantiate their negative advisory. And as you've heard from Councilor Capalbo, there are a number of parts of the comprehensive plan that would support solar. Now, when we did the comprehensive plan this last time, when it was handed off, the planning board works on it, then they have usually a workshop with the town council. The town council goes at it, and together we come up with a document that we can bring to the hearing and hopefully approve, and hopefully the state agrees. There is, I'm not even going to bother to go into anything more than one simple statement out of the comprehensive plan that I'd like to read to you, and Barbara talked about it as well. And this is a recommendation. It's in the Public Services and Facilities. It isn't any surprise, people have heard this before, that the planning board passed on to the town council. The town council, I don't even remember discussing this particular section really. I mean, we looked at it. There were some areas where you had specific disagreements or needed to tinker with. But that recommendation, number 18, consider expanding the current zoning regulations to allow photovoltaic installations in residential districts. And the responsibility for this is the planning board, as it's noted in the comprehensive plan. So obviously, you can look at the comprehensive plan and you can say why it doesn't allow solar in residential, and you can say why it does. I'm not going to get into any more about the comprehensive plan other than just that statement. We've seen developers come and go, and it's only normal that they're going to cite specific areas where the comprehensive plan meets whatever it is they want to do. But the bottom line is we can't say no to everything. The governor, the legislative body of our state, came up with an energy in there, and Barbara mentioned it, the state guide plan for 2035, which has a specific section called energy. The reason that the governor and others are asking all of Rhode Island to look at renewables, solar or wind, or anything else they can dream up, is because we're looking at the potential for serious brownouts in the year 2024. We're finding it difficult, or will find it difficult in the future to meet our electric demand. So that's why these things come up. If we vote no to this tonight, it doesn't mean that future solar proposals that perhaps smaller may be in a good area. And if they're asking for a zone change, this council may decide that it's a good idea. I hope some of you will, rather than just say no to everything solar, will listen, attend the hearings just like you're doing now, go to the hearings and find out. There might be some areas where it's not a problem. Unfortunately, I have a problem with this one. I have had a lot of municipal experience. I've served on committees. I've been on the town council on and off for many years. I grew up on a farm on Fairview that was in between Aubrey Teff, which is on Dye Hill Road, and on the other side of our farm was Lester Teff. I'm familiar with, obviously, with working the land, taking care of animals, what they desire, what they don't need, what they are fearful of. And my father and I, we didn't do it on our land, which was interesting, but we would travel to Connecticut on Route 49. If you get to the top of the very toppest point on 49 in between Clarks Falls Road and Voluntown, there's a farm in there. There's a number of farms, but all those fields that we helped clear are now cornfields. It's a farm. That's what they wanted. They have a right to clear their land. What I learned from it, though, was just how messy it can be. I think that this particular proposal, and I appreciate all the hard work and money spent, the developer and the engineers and on, they have spent out of their pocket, assuming that we would move forward with this. I know that they've made it very clear that they will put in houses if this fails. I obviously am not in favor of many houses being built every year with the potential of children that'll cost more than the average amount. I'm concerned that I'm basically concerned about the size of the project. It's approximately 5 times larger than a previous proposal that we've done. And 5 times larger may not seem like a lot, but we're talking about hundreds of acres. I'm concerned about the way the land slopes. We all know where it goes. It heads down Bushy Brook, heads towards Dye Hill, and on its way to Locustville. I believe that I must be crazy to turn down the amount of money and the benefits that money will bring to the town, because I grew up in town. I know the old timers. I know the people I'm just a 3rd generation. There are others that have family that go back many years. they have struggled. My father struggled, and that's why from time to time he'd break off a piece of land and he'd sell it because he just couldn't get by. There are people that are struggling now. Some recent information that just, not just our state, but nationwide, that 78% of the people in our lovely United States live paycheck to paycheck. That doesn't mean that one paycheck that's missed will necessarily cause economic failure or financial failure, but it might take a couple. And most people just don't have an emergency amount of money in their savings account. And one little thing can really make a big difference. Personally, I grew up on Fairview. My husband and I got married in 1975 when we bought a home on Lawton Foster Road South. So we're right in the middle of town. It's a small piece of land. It's only it's only 3/4 of an acre. We have a house right next to us and people that own land in the back. The land happens to slope down toward our home so that we know that when it's a lot of rain, we might get a wet backyard. But on one side of us, the northern side, there was land up in the back, and this family had frontage on Lawton Foster Road. The problem was that next to us, where they wanted to put a driveway in to reach their property in the back, is a wetlands. So DEM, and I didn't know anything about it, and I don't know if I would have cared, because we were new and young and we didn't know. DEM allowed them to put the driveway in, go over the wetlands to get to their property in the back. They have a nice big house in the back. It's very nice. They're good neighbors. What it did to us, unfortunately, is because obviously a driveway goes in, it's not going to be low, it's built up, and it just barricaded us in like a dam, like the beavers do. And we ended up with a 4-inch water table. And that was at the point where we were having serious drainage issues. We're having serious septic problems, and it usually was in the spring. But just that one thing, that one little thing that DEM allowed, so they're not perfect either. They allowed the driveway to go in. We ended up with a problem. We get water in our basement. And what are you going to do about it? Well, we put in one of those really expensive septic systems, so we now have a working septic system, and we found a way to deal with our drainage issues. So it did all work out in the end, but it was that one little thing that you wouldn't think was so bad. I'm concerned about this one thing, but it's not a small thing, it's a big thing. And I just can't support this particular proposal in this particular piece of land. I'm worried about the owls, I'm worried about all the animals. It's just too big. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sylvia. All right, I've got my comment.
I also want to address all of you, and I'm really glad there's been a lot of people out. Is this any better? Okay. I'm glad all of you come out, and I'm really glad that you are part and parcel of this. We could have used it even earlier, but I do appreciate that you're being here, and I appreciate your pro and con. I'd like to let the planning board know that the members of the Hopkinton Planning Board are dedicated, hardworking, and committed to this town and its well-being. I have watched them operate for the last 10 years over the last 7 years, probably almost every meeting. I respect them highly, and I respect their recommendations and their opinions under their mandate. However, as a town councilor, my directive and obligation to the citizens is different from our committees. We are a council, not a committee or a board. The council's governance is responsible to all of our citizens for the intricacies of our tax load and our tax stabilization. We're responsible for personnel and budget constraints, state and education mandates or recommendations, as well as to encourage the economic strengths we enjoy and restructure the economic weaknesses we find. We are not a border commission. When the planning board voted against the 2 solar projects at exit 1 and 2, I actually disagreed with them, although I voted both of them down. I did not vote against the solar projects at exit 1 and exit 2 because of their environmental concerns, protecting our rural culture, or quiet housing issues, which is the only things brought up by the planning board. I voted against the solar projects at exit 1 and exit 2 because they are specifically and emphatically not included, desired, or encouraged within the comprehensive plan under the economic development goals, policies, and recommendations. Goal ED1, objectives ED1, 2, 4, 5, and 7, or the continuing with the public services and utilities, goal PSF 5, policy PSF 15, and PSF 16. These first 2 exits off Rhode Island Route 95 are specifically commercial and manufacturing to encourage interstate commerce, job growth, and development for the benefit of employers and employees alike. These areas were created to become a vibrant economic engine for the benefit of Hopkinton taxpayers. They were never designated in the comprehensive plan for a gated piece of quiet property. So I actually was against the planning board for very entirely different reasons than they gave for both exit 1 and 2. And I voted down exit 1 before you guys got here. And I had already said I wouldn't vote for exit 2 before you got here. But I look at these things really distinctly and really carefully and deeply. It is not a shallow thing to think about these. Rezoning a parcel of land has a 2-fold purpose. One is to make an area of town more compliant and integral as a single district without competing zones sharing a difficult truce. There were 21 rezones in the 2017 comprehensive plan and land use map update. 21. You would have considered them spot zoning. They weren't. The other is to adapt to changing needs, new concerns, and local or state issues as they concern all the citizens. The comprehensive plan is a guide. Nothing in this plan is permanent, in perpetuity, or forever. Anywhere, at any time, the world changes, and we must, if we wish to survive, change with it. Most of you are environmentalists. Most of you are really interested in it. But you want it only your way, and you're not paying attention to the entire state or the entire region. Renewable energy is the current predicament as the need for electricity is growing exponentially. The people of Rhode Island are refusing, reasonably I might add, I absolutely agree with all of you who do this, they're refusing gas pipelines, nuclear reactors, oil and coal-fired utility plants, and their reconstruction and renovation. Solar and wind, although imperfect solution, are all we've got. Challenges are a sign of life. I'll quote from Al Diorio's planning letter. Do not wait until the conditions are perfect to begin. Beginning makes the conditions perfect. Challenges create opportunities. Failure ensures better and stronger solutions. And I have watched our planning board do both. I am not afraid of the future. New Englanders are a resilient people, and if we need to be on the forefront of independence, so be it. The country exists because we've done it before. Do not be so afraid that we will not control and try to keep this so that you have tax stabilization. I have farmers keep their lands. I've got wildlife habitat in a lot of my large landowners' properties. That's all.
Okay. All right, thanks, everyone. Good evening. I want to, I guess, talk about the project and why some of the development opportunities that have been prevalent during these solar projects are of interest to me. The school budget's the reason. This budget has been a source of many a frustrating budget session in my last 10 to 12 years on the council. It has prevented us from doing a much-needed project or two, such as infrastructure improvements and the like. I don't expect the audience who recently started to oppose these solar projects to fully comprehend this issue. I have lived it long enough, and most of the past and present council members understand what I'm talking about. This has been a struggle to attempt to balance the needs of the municipality and all its residents' needs when our school budget continually rises. This school budget has forced me to look at additional revenue sources to keep pace with rising expenses the town has been faced with. I work with the town manager mostly on the day-to-day activity of the town, and I know intimately for the last 10 to 12 years how and what is happening with the finances of the town. No one knows it better than me, the manager, and the town finance director. I wish this was not the case, but the reality tells me otherwise. I was encouraged by a few spectators at the last school committee budget meeting, thanks to Joe, Carol, and of course Pat. I'm sure that they and everyone else could sense my frustration. 2 pages of superintendent cuts, and to my knowledge, no additional reductions from the entire school committee. In fact, towards the end of the meeting at the Charahoe finance director said we are only $77,000 away from actually being level funded, and I thought the committee members would rush to bring forward their recommendations for reductions, and in the room once again fell silent. No additional cuts on a $59 million budget. It's pretty sad. For those of you on the council who have worked with me in the past years know that I can be pretty frugal and cheap. I tried my best to always keep a reasonable tax rate and approve larger, costly items only when necessary. In my opinion, the town is at a budgetary crossroads. We have 5 unions in town, and we've always done very well in negotiating these contracts, but the tide is certainly turning. The lack of some form of commercial development at Exit 1 and 2 never really materialized. The one bright spot was that the new business at Exit 2. The only reason these folks built at Exit 2, I believe, was because they were residents of the town. Otherwise, who knows? That particular company's in, I think, 20 countries around the world, and he could have relocated anywhere. The U.S. economy has enjoyed steady growth since 2009 or so. This may too soon end. A recession is in the cards and may not be this year, but my opinion is most likely in 2020. Recessions put pressure on real estate values, which are our mainstay for income. All I've ever wanted to do was to strike some kind of balance between rising expenses and some revenue opportunities. I don't want to sound like doom and gloom, but the prospects of rising property taxes are real. The last 8 years, the average tax rate, thanks to the past and present council, is 2011. It's now 2007, 4 cents less. It's been very, very steady. I heard from the audience about what our legacy should be or what it should not be. I want my legacy to be that the tax rates were kept affordable for all residents, not just the ones that can afford it. I've always said that if I keep the taxpayers and residents in mind in every decision I make financially, I can never go wrong. This decision for this project, like any other decision, keeps to that promise. All of the prior commentary provides a backdrop for the main reasons for supporting the solar project at Brushy Brook, how it conforms to our comprehensive plan. The plan's conservation goal number 1 is to promote conservation of Hopkinton's natural resources, particularly the protection of ground and surface waters. The plan's natural resources number 1 goal is to preserve, conserve, and protect the significant natural resources of Hopkinton as an endowment for the future of the town. Public services and facilities goal number 3 of the plan is to provide a safe, high quality, and sufficient drinking water supply to the town, along with effective wastewater management and solid waste disposal reduction, which is sensitive to environmental concerns and growth management. A planned housing development at Brushy Brook would affect greatly the comprehensive goal plans just outlined. Moreover, with regard to the solar array analysis, the comprehensive plan's public services and facilities goal number 5 is to reduce Hopkinton's energy consumption and to help implement recommendation number 14, which is to evaluate the feasibility and cost of installing photovoltaic and wind and/or powered electricity generating technologies. Further comprehensive plan consistency. It was already mentioned by, I think, Sylvia and Barbara, the state's plan, energy plan, pages 40 to 41, Rhode Island's energy plan, Energy 2035, Report 120, aims to create sustainable and affordable energy infrastructure that can meet the state's energy demands and stimulate economic growth. One of the main primary strategies to achieve these goals is to increase fuel diversity by developing local renewable energy production facilities rather than relying on out-of-state energy sources. Reduction of energy consumption through community involvement and strategic municipal planning can also make a significant impact not only on the state's demand, but the town as well. Renewable energy, page 43, the majority of the energy consumed nationally is generated from non-renewable foreign resources. Global competition for fuel sources creates unstable and unpredictable prices with the potential for local supply shortages. This indicates the need for locally generated renewable energy in order to ensure economic security. Renewable energy technology has evolved to allow rising global energy demands to be met in a more sustainable way, but it is crucial for this to be implemented on a community level. The town of Hopkinton can benefit from renewable energy generating technologies as a way to decrease long-term energy costs, increase the town's energy independence, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Renewable energy projects also have the potential to create local jobs, particularly in the fields of construction and professional and technical services. Furthermore, the site proposal to change from RFR 80 to commercial special is further supported by policy public services and facilities number 17, encourage renewable energy projects in the private sector, page 55. Recommendation 18, consider expanding current zoning regulations to allow photovoltaic installation in residential districts, as Councilor Thompson has indicated. Goals, policies, and recommendations. Goal, economic development number 1 is to provide for the expansion of the town's tax base by encouraging development of new and existing light and/or heavy industrial and office commercial business. Lastly, recommendation number 4 within public services and facilities was to identify the zone areas for manufacturing and commercial sites. This objective can be achieved for the purpose of promoting public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. I referred to this with my analysis of the proposed housing development plan at Brushy Brook. The future land use map amendment, open space conservation to commercial special land use classification can be pursued enduring full internal and comprehensive plan consistency through land use goal number 7, use the future land use plan to update and improve zoning ordinance, page 118, and policy land use goal number 20, the zoning ordinance should be consistent with the future land use map. So obviously for my comments, I am in support of this renewable energy project for a host of reasons, independent of which Barbara's conditions that were worked on with the developer, I assume that may not have been approved. I think this is a smart thing for us to approve on a host of reasons to benefit the town and all its residents. I'm often looked at in the community. I get a lot of calls for various items, zoning, neighbor issues, garbage, tractor trailers, anything, you name it. And the people that trust me to help them out with those issues trust me to make this decision for them as well. And a lot of them are not here today. So I'm going to support this project. So we'll have a vote and we'll see what happens. So. Yes.
I'd like to ask Mr. Palumbo if you would agree to sign the codicils that I read into the record.
My response is yes.
Yes, on the record. Thank you so much, Mr. Palumbo.
Okay, any further comments by the council? Okay. Yes, Scott?
I would like to commend Councilor Davis. She's never served on a town council before, and she did a heck of a job in her presentation, and I congratulate you.
Okay, so we had motion made and seconded. We had further council discussions on the matter. Does anyone have any further comments from the council? Sharon, Barbara, Sylvia, Scott? Okay. All right, so there's a motion on the floor from Barbara, seconded by Scott. in favor of the project, correct, Councilor Capalbo?
Correct.
Okay. And all those in favor of the project signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those not in favor say no.
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 Okay, the motion fails.
Frank, I'll move that we deny the Brushy Brook proposal zone change.
Seconded.
Say it again, Sylvia, I didn't catch that.
I move that we deny the Brushy Brook decision.
I made that in the original motion. It was both the comprehensive plan and the zoning amendment.
No, no, I just, legal, you need a couple of motions for this?
You can combine them both as long as you mention both the zone classification change and the comprehensive future land use.
Okay, I
map
move that
changes.
we
Which is what I
reject,
did.
I move that we reject the comprehensive plan map amendment and that we reject the zoning amendment requested by the Southern Sky Renewable Energy.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Motion carries.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.